Greetings, BlazeLeeDragon here, and I recorded this video a little while ago, a couple days ago, and for some reason it didn't keep and deleted when I transferred to my computer, so maybe that's just a sign that I was meant to redo this video with new insight. So this is a video that is basically just sharing an interesting concept that I had come up with while talking to one of my friends at work. So every day I've been trying to go for walks on my lunch and my breaks, and every day we always have these interesting conversations. And one of the conversations we had come up with, and I forget what the exact specifics were, but essentially what was going on is we were talking about how people have different perspectives and viewpoints on stuff. And we're talking about how some unique individuals, such as myself, likes to quote-unquote think outside of the box, which is a phrase I'm sure many of you have heard before. However, when I had mentioned this and I said that some people think outside of the box, I said that, but I don't think that there is a box or the box. I think that everybody has their own box. And the idea and the purpose behind that is everybody has their own thoughts or way of thinking of things or seeing reality, or even their own very unique reality and perspective on life. And this, I essentially was calling their box. So when someone says, well, they think outside the box, well, I think it's more appropriate to think they think outside their box, or they see things outside of perspective of the box of the individual they're speaking to. And then this eventually began to build through more walking conversations into developing into a theory of basically the way that the box image is portrayed kind of falls along the lines of someone's ability to kind of open up their mind and see things outside of what's considered the norm. And basically, essentially, if you consider a box, well, if you leave things in a box for too long, they become old and dusty and musty. So you want to take everything out of your box every so often, clean it off, polish it off, and remind yourself why you're even carrying that in your box. Likewise, in order for a box to work, it has to be open to receive. Otherwise, the box is just sitting there as a block. So in order to receive, we have to have the box open and open to new ideas and possibilities in order to expand and grow. Then there's also the consideration of the box itself. Works best when it's held upright and in a receiving position. Dumped on its side can be, hazardous to the box, and upside down it doesn't function as a box at all. And if anything, it just, like I said, it can empty it out in a way. Now, there's also the concept of how deep is your box. And we were talking about this today. We were talking about the discussion about how some people are very deep thinkers. And essentially the idea behind this is the depth of the box itself. And she was saying to me, well, how deep is your box, and all that's deep and things like that. And it comes down to, if your box is too deep, then you can't see outside of your box. You are consumed with the depth that you find yourself in, which once again falls in the box analogy. And then I was discussing the fact, but at the same time, if your box is too shallow and there's no depth to it, your box isn't capable of holding anything, or not holding much of substance. So we were discussing that as well. And this is, once again, if you know, not to say, if the box is big and even, then hey. Likewise, you can't see out of it, but it can also be too deep, as in the sense of a rectangular box. Same thing with being too shallow. It can be a rectangular box and not deep enough to hold things. And then I brought up the analogy of, hey, it's a rectangle instead of a square box, and a rectangle starts with rect, as in your mind is wrecked. So I thought it was a very interesting concept and something to consider. So when you're talking with other individuals, or if you're even considering what's inside your own personal box, consider the box. Consider the idea that motorcycles are loud when driving by. I don't know if that picked up on the mic or not. But consider the idea that each one of us has our own box and things that we put into it. We have our own perceptions, our own viewpoints, and our own way of seeing the world and the universe. And we choose how our box is. We choose if it's transparent or opaque or misty or colored or solid or made of wood and comfortable. We decide how comfortable our box is. We decide how we want to decorate the inside of our box and what things we want to put into it. If we want to hide inside with the lid closed, or if we want to keep it open to the world and experience new things. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're never leaving our own box. We can just choose how wide we want to expand it and how open we want it to be and what we want to let in. And the same thing happens to do with our beliefs or our perceptions or our concepts that we walk through everyday life with. We get to choose. We get to make choices. And although people are more than welcome to put things into our box, we're the ones who get to choose whether or not to leave them there or to take them out. And we always have the ability to go in and reanalyze or to dump it or start anew, whatever the case may be. We are in control of our lives. So just, keep things like this in mind. And like I said, the box analogy is just one. It's just one thing that I came up with. And we were discussing today that I should write a book. We should call it What's Inside Your Box? Or something along those lines. So I just thought it was very interesting. And then I started bringing up jokes, hey, do you think it would work if I walk up to a random stranger and say, do you mind if I look in your box? So it's just food for thought, things to consider. Again, I'm repeating myself. Yes, I do that. So yeah, that's basically the idea. I pretty much got all my points out. So thank you for watching. Thumb up, like, subscribe, ask questions, give your opinions. This is BlazeLeeDragon. Thanks again for tuning in.